Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Impact Aurora, inspiring unity, change, and service. So excited to be with all of you today just to showcase another wonderful leader in our Aurora community. And it's my pleasure and honor to sit down with Mr. Richard Lewis. Mr. Lewis is a Leadership Aurora graduate from the class of 2011, I believe.
That's correct.
And so he is also the president and CEO of RTL Networks, which is a local company here in the Aurora community and does a lot of fantastic work, and really excited for Mr. Lewis to kind of share a little bit more about that and some of the wonderful engagements he has across the community. And just a quick little bit of a background on his bio is that before founding RTL Networks, Mr. Lewis served in various senior management positions for organizations such as Cisco Systems, Quest, Avaya, where he was responsible for developing and executing strategic plans while delivering network consulting services to Fortune 500 and national service providers. And so as president and CEO, Mr. Lewis has effectively leveraged his education and wealth of past experiences to grow RTL Networks into a multi-million-dollar firm that has been recognized by organizations such as the Small Business Administration, the Denver Business Journal, Colorado Biz Magazine, and Inc. Magazine. So Mr. Lewis, I'm so excited to have the honor to sit down with you and just learn a little bit more about your background, and also just share some of your experiences and insights of leadership, and also just some of your experiences with the Leadership Aurora program. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So thank you so much for taking some time today to be with us.
My pleasure, Jordan, and the pleasure is mine. It's great to meet you.
Likewise, likewise. So just to kind of get started and jumping into our conversation today, just so you know, this Impact Aurora program is really, the heart of it is really to help showcase just some of our leaders in the community and really sharing their insights and experiences from the Leadership Aurora program through the Aurora Chamber of Commerce, but also just to get an opportunity to hear firsthand from some of the great leaders in our community, some of the wonderful work that they're doing, and also kind of why that community engagement is so important to them. So I would really love to just go ahead and start out by just hearing how maybe the Leadership Aurora program has really just impacted you personally as well as professionally.
Sure, absolutely. So, I'm originally an East Coast, Midwest and East Coast guy who, after the military, came back to Colorado, and which is where I went to school. And I'm a 20-year Aurora resident, and I just love this community. It's embracing. It's just really one of the best places I've ever lived. So, getting into Leadership Aurora, as a program to learn more about what happens behind the scenes in the city, how it works, why is it such a enjoyable place to live, what are some of the challenges, and it faces and how it deals with them. It was a great opportunity, and I learned quite a bit. When you have a chance to, kind of peel back the onion and just really understand, why things the way they are, it's fantastic. And, we call it Leadership Aurora, but there are just so many amazing leaders in Aurora, and just the opportunity to interact with them and feel their passion and learn from them was a great experience.
That's fantastic. And just to kind of follow up on that, are there any particular memories or takeaways from the class that have really stood out to you and maybe that you've continued to carry since graduating?
Sure. I mean, kind of just piggybacking on my last answer, then it's the programming, for one. The programming of Leadership Aurora was eye-opening. The working with the fire departments and actually seeing, what happens. We all know that to pull the fire alarm or call 911 if your house is burning down, but what happens next, and what's the training that goes into that, and exactly who are these professionals who help us with with our needs. All the first responders. First response is a big part of Aurora, and really getting a chance to understand it and do ride-alongs and really engage was I'll never forget it. I learned a lot, and I'll never forget. And then the other, so all the programming, all the various days, I really appreciated that. And then the opportunity to meet with other leaders in my class.
Yeah.
The Leadership Aurora, when you pull all these leaders from diverse parts of the community and you work together for that year. And those relationships are special. I'm still in touch with quite a few. We still do get-togethers and communicate. That experience is irreplaceable. You just can't get that anywhere else. You can go out and meet people here and there, but when you just pull a group of people like this, the randomness, but they're all professional, all skilled, it's an opportunity to learn from your peer groups that you otherwise would not have naturally run into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I would definitely echo that. And a lot of our guests on the program and also some of my fellow classmates from 2020 would attest that just even prior to getting involved in the program, didn't really know what to expect. But as you get involved and really have those class days where you're going out and seeing the community, kind of the word that has been consistent throughout a lot of our conversations is that it kind of helps ignite a little bit of that interest and desire to continue to connect with so many different sectors of the community. And it's great to see, we have nonprofits, we have private sector, we have military, schools, really all sectors represented across the program, and really having these leaders connect, as you were just saying, is really powerful, and really having an opportunity like no other in any other place that I've seen in the state. I'm sure there's other programs like that through other chambers, but I haven't really seen other programs that has kind of that unique connection and that ability to unify so many different sectors and leaders in the community, which is fantastic. And I did hear just momentarily, I would be remiss if I didn't just pay tribute and just say thank you for your service to our country. I appreciate that.
Go Air Force. I appreciate that. It was my honor. I'd be happy to do it again. And to your point also, but, as an entrepreneur today, a lot of times we look at starting businesses, we talk about it. We're saying, would this work? You're putting up a business plan. And there are always unknowns, things that you couldn't have planned for. A program like Leadership Aurora for an entrepreneur is fantastic because it allows you to really, get under the hood and see,
right,
things that might come up in any business plan or idea that you have, things that you wouldn't have considered and couldn't have known. But getting a chance to see, if, for example, the people in Aurora or the businesses in Aurora or the public sector parts of Aurora are part of your business plan, getting that deep understanding of how they operate and function is helpful to any entrepreneur. And it's also helpful to anyone who, desires to get engaged in community service or who is already engaged and wants to be more effective. The programming and the insights through this program are exceptional.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Kind of as I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, one of the things that we try to do through this program and also with the Leadership Aurora program as well is just trying to inspire others to come together in various ways and helping, to your point, giving back to the community, getting engaged in community service. What would you say are maybe some ways that you engage, whether that be personally or even professionally through RTL networks, just to kind of help inspire, unity, change, and service to others around you?
Sure. So within the company, I'm always making it clear, when we have meetings and et cetera, that, we've been a successful company and we intend to remain a successful company. But if all we do here is figure out how to make money, then we're probably missing an opportunity to make a difference. So I encourage others in the company to not be shy about what they're doing, in their personal life. I'll ask, hey, is anyone involved in anything community-wise? Just to get people comfortable with talking about it and knowing that, the boss wants to hear about it. I offer my people, my headquarters up to 40 hours a year, in additional time off to work on community, efforts. And, and if they're involved in something and they want RTL to sponsor, then we look at that as well.
That's amazing.
RTL, the company's been very engaged in terms of sponsoring other very worthwhile efforts.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as organizations, I participated on a number of groups, and nonprofits and, throughout the community over the past 20 years, everything from various chambers of commerce to the Metro Sports Commission, Rocky Mountain PBS, Boy Scouts, Denver Area Council,
Yeah.
Black Chamber, Mile High United Way. And there is a couple programs that I'm very supportive of at this point. It's the Sims Fayola. It's a foundation that deals with young men of color, as well as CABES, Colorado Association of Black Professionals in Engineering and Science, and Future Tech, which also teaches kids, science professions, more specifically around networking and very focused computer skills. Very interested in helping next generations, start off on the right path, remain on the right path, and very interested in helping getting kids into STEM career fields. So those are all programs that I highly endorse. And if folks listening to this podcast aren't familiar, they're welcome to call me or Google them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to kind of follow up on that, as you engage a lot of these younger generations and getting involved in some of those programs, are there like universities or colleges or even kind of certification programs that RTL works with, or are there programs like within RTL that kind of helps educate those students to kind of, I guess, just learn kind of the ins and outs of what that all looks like with networking?
Sure. So Future Tech, as I mentioned earlier, and RTL works with them quite a bit. That program teaches kids, again, programming and more specifically networking, working with network hardware such as Cisco, and they're connected with the Cisco Networking Academy.
Yeah.
So when kids go through that program, they get recognized by by an organization like Cisco Systems. It really, sets them apart, have that kind of certification as early as middle or high school.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible.
And there's some other wonderful programs, the Rural Community College, Janelle, I can't remember her last name, but Janelle over there, running some wonderful programs. We were in discussions earlier and, then COVID, happened, but, we'd like to resume some of those conversations as well. And we will at some point, just been so busy.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Excellent programs at Community College of Aurora.
Yeah.
Can't talk about them enough.
Definitely. We had a wonderful opportunity to sit down recently with Betsy Udenhoven, President Udenhoven, as well as John Wolfkill from the foundation. And it was just remarkable to see some of the incredible treasures of education that the Community College of Aurora really provides, a lot of which I didn't know previously to sitting down. And that's kind of just what has been so remarkable about this initiative and just the Leadership Aurora program. I know we talk and sound a little bit like a broken record, but it really is something that is so incredible to shed light on just the incredible work that's going on in the community. And I applaud your efforts as what it is that you're doing for these younger generations to really educate them on these technical skills that are so crucial to their futures and potential careers as well. And so this is something I didn't know a whole lot prior to some of our initial engagements recently, really what RTL does. Can you talk to us just a little bit about, the incredible work, what RTL Networks ultimately does as a company, and kind of how did you get the vision for starting this organization?
Sure. I'll answer your questions in order. So RTL Networks is an IT services firm. Our customer base, our area of focus is right now is the federal government. Mm-hmm. So we work with federal civilian agencies such as Department of Agriculture, Department of Interior, Department of Energy, et cetera. And we work with Department of Defense, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. And we provide them with some of the IT network expertise that they need in order to accomplish their missions. That may be in the area of basic networking,
sure.
System administration, network engineering, things of that nature. Maybe they have ongoing projects. Maybe they need support in their help desks. Could be that general in nature, or it could be more advanced cybersecurity on IT systems, or even weapon systems or weapons platforms. Or it could be warfighter support. Where we actually have contracts with the Marines, where you can imagine they're doing what they're doing. Flying off of the carrier or on a raft across the ocean, or a bay rather. They set up the beachhead, and get ready to do their missions. Well, on those opportunities, there's one of my employees, or a group of my employees, we're not carrying weapons, but we are all camoed up just like they are, and we're carrying laptops. So we do the IT. I mean, war fighting today is very IT intensive, and we're there to support, you know, our soldiers and Marines and airmen to make sure that everyone knows where they are in reference to the terrain and to opposing forces, whether it's a training mission or actual operations.
Wow, that's
so we do some really cool stuff. How did I get into it? I went to the Air Force Academy. So I attended the Air Force Academy. I graduated as a computer science major, and for 10 years served as a communications officer all over the world, designing systems, testing systems, deploying systems, you know, everywhere from, you know, across the country and in overseas in the Middle East during Operation Southern Watch, you know, through Desert Storm, and installing systems on aircraft carriers and in various parts of theater. So that's what I did. Then after 10 years, I got out. I worked for Cisco Systems. I worked for Avaya. I worked for what was then US West, which is now CenturyLink or Lumen. I think they're rebranding again. So I had the military experience. I had the large-scale corporate experience, and then I figured it was time for me to try my own opportunity, and it's been very, very glad I did.
Yeah.
Running my own company is it's a roller coaster. It's never a dull moment, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's a good responsibility that I embrace.
That's amazing. Wow. And that is so incredible just to hear about how RTL is supporting really critical efforts and missions across the country, really across the globe for some of our armed services organizations and the like. And so thank you for everything that RTL is doing to support those efforts.
It's my honor to continue serving even post my own active duty career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I know we got a chance to hear a little bit from you on just some of your involvements across the community and some of the wonderful engagements that you've had from the various chambers, the Boy Scouts, and other organizations as well. Just to kind of dive into the next question here, you know, this past year has certainly impacted all of our lives and has ushered in so many changes and areas of new challenges for us to ultimately navigate through and overcome. And so the question I have is, what has maybe been something positive in your life, or maybe even something challenging that you've had to navigate over this past year through this recent season that we've all been experiencing?
Sure. You know, we've all been impacted, and RTL certainly has been impacted, but there's just always things to be grateful. There are a lot of other industries that have impacted, you know, even more. And then you talk about the families. I mean, how do you measure that impact, right? Where, you know, people are losing loved ones, and it's just been a really challenging, difficult time. And, you know, one of the things that we learned in Leadership Aurora, and we also learn in life, is that, you know, we have to work together. We have to come together. And that's really what I've seen a lot of in the community, what we've done a lot of in our companies, is that we just this is one of those times where we all have to find a way to support one another, either emotionally, sometimes financially, sometimes with opportunity, and sometimes just have to think differently about, you know, how we're doing things, you know, individually and as groups. You know, within RTL, we've definitely had to transform, and a lot of the organizations I support, I've seen them have to transform, and it was challenging. We had some big swallow gulp moments, you know, sigh heavy kind of conversations, you know, at the beginning of this, where we were watching companies that were no longer able to contribute to the nonprofits. We were watching our customers hold off on initiating new projects, some projects that we'd even already won and secured. The customer was saying, you know, we're not going to spin this up yet. We're going to do a wait and see. You know, our whole natural order of things was challenged. It was uprooted. And so what we had to do was transform. And that's what we have to do. And as leaders, you know, that's what our teams, our communities are counting on us to do, is to to think deeply, is to look at things in a new light, get out of the box, and figure out, well, how else can we do this? What else can we do to accomplish our mission, given our new circumstance? And I've been so proud of many of the nonprofits that I worked with that have found a way to, leverage the internet and podcasts such as these, and and Zoom and other methods to push their message even further. So now some of these organizations that were very local now have customers and advocates in other continents. And and us as a company, we're also doing the same. We're leveraging these tools as well to find ways to expand our product offerings and services, versus shrink. And I know there's some industries where that's a little more difficult, so I'm just very grateful. Right. I don't know, but everyone's doing that. I see restaurants now leveraging DoorDash. I didn't know what DoorDash was before this pandemic, and now it's unfortunately it's a all too common experience in my home. So but the transformation, the pivoting, and it's up to us leaders to recognize those opportunities, to draw a plan and attack vector towards those opportunities. How do we take advantage of this? How do we fully exploit these new opportunities in this new paradigm, and then communicate it to our teams? Hey, this is what we're going to do now. Don't lose hope. Hope is so important. When people feel that they're losing hope, they become desperate. Sometimes they will leave your company. Sometimes you just have to give people the hope that, hey, we're going to get through this. Right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to try, and then solicit their thoughts and ideas. I mean, we're the leaders. We have large scale, high level ideas often, but our people are the ones who really get it done. So we communicate with them. We ask them for their input, and we ask them to kind of help figure out how to smooth this out and make it work. And that's how teams work. And we've been successful. I've been so proud of a lot of the nonprofits that I've been working with, and watch them succeed as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, just to follow up on that, you were talking a lot about leadership and just the responsibilities that leaders have to ultimately kind of help inspire others around them to kind of provide that hope through challenging situations. What are maybe some key qualities in the areas of leadership that you kind of really look for and that you admire, not only in others, but also to try to help echo to others around you?
Sure. A lot of people are leaders, but maybe in one environment you don't see it, you put them somewhere else and you see it loud and clear. So I always encourage people to really focus on areas where they have passion, because and that's what I look for, passion. I look for that because passion drives energy, passion drives inspiration and ideas and creative thought. And passion is contagious. It draws people in. And so I always look for my businesses and when I'm working in a community, I'm looking for people with passion. And again, passion is it depends on your environment. So, there may be you may be working in one area, it's conditional. You may be in one area where you're not super passionate about and you don't see that leader, but put that same person in another room, with a different subject matter, and the passion just flows. And so it's just finding the right person, the right fit, and making sure that, and finding the right person and putting them into the right situation where they can be successful, finding the right fit.
Absolutely. And are there any specific experiences kind of going off of that leadership, maybe community service lessons from either Leadership Aurora or even with RTL that you can share, or any personal stories that might stand out to you and kind of that passion, or, how you've seen others around you, maybe even in your own personal story, being able to give back to the community in that way?
Sure. I always encourage people to, when you get involved, yes, you have the passion, yes, you have the energy. Now the next step is to try and articulate how your involvement will make a difference. I mean, most organizations, we don't need pedestrians. We don't need, people just go along for the ride. Most organizations, when they bring you on, they're really looking for you to help make a difference, to move the needle with the organization. So have an idea how you intend to do that. A lot of times that's one of my rubrics. I try to understand, how will I make a difference in this organization? And if I don't see it, then I just kind of think that maybe this is an organization I need to, to pass on, which is, sometimes one of my, very difficult for me to know when to say no. Sometimes we overcommit and overburden, and that's not good either, because it'll burn me out. And at the same time, it can make me less effective in the areas where I am. So overcommitting is something that, I know I have to watch on, and I think a lot of other leaders I know also struggle with, but it's just hard. One of the things, where I work with, I mentioned earlier that I work with kids and education, and it's hard to say no sometimes, because, all our passion comes from different places. For me, when I was in school, a young person in school, elementary school in particular, the teachers had informed my mother that I needed special academics. They told my mom that, hey, your son Richard is a slow learner, and we should put him in special academics. And my mom didn't agree with that assessment, and she challenged the school and eventually took me out of that school and took me to another school. But that's always kind of stuck with me, because I remember those. I don't remember the conversation. I wasn't really party to some of that conversation, but I remember my teacher talking down to me. I remember that their expectations for me in school were quite low, and I remember not feeling like I had anything to offer or that I was smart. I remember that feeling very well,
yeah.
And I remember kind of growing through it and growing out of it. I was very fortunate. I remember, elementary and middle school, a lot of the young kids who I hung out with were brilliant. A lot of them were great natural leaders and had minds like steel traps. They could tell you every stat, every batting average for every player on the teams that they liked, and many of the teams that they didn't even follow. They saw it once and they remembered it. They were natural leaders in our organizations, not organizations, but in our little, crowds of kids.
Yeah.
There was always that one kid or a couple kids that, everyone followed. They were just natural leaders. I wasn't any of those, but I have a company now and have been successful. And a lot of the young people who I grew up with, have been challenged. And so that's where a lot of my passion comes from, as far as, how many kids get caught, and fall through the cracks because they didn't have the right support, or someone who believed in them, or someone who encouraged them, or any number of factors. How many kids, how much talent, how many lives are not necessarily forfeit, but didn't reach their potential. How much does that cost our communities? How much does it cost our nation when we don't maximize all of our talent? And so, with that kind of grinding on me, it's just hard to say no sometimes, but there's just so much need out there. And so I encourage everyone to find an area, where they're passionate about, and get involved in the community. It may not seem like much, but someone will see you. You never know what kind of difference you're going to make. And so I just encourage everybody to, just consider what, do an honest assessment from time to time. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's annually.
Yeah.
And just really ask, have I given back to the level that, I've received? And if you're good with that, then fine. But if you're not, there are plenty of opportunities to level that ledger.
Absolutely. And that actually transitions into the next question that I had, is just, how can someone listening to this maybe get more involved in Aurora, maybe specifically, and really give that community service and impact back? What are some ways maybe that you personally can recommend to others to just get involved right here in Aurora?
Oh my goodness, that's an easy one. I mean, just call. I mean, this community is so embracing. It's I mentioned earlier, I'm an East Coast guy. I mean, back in the East Coast, if you wanted to be on a board of directors for something or get involved in some organization, it can be a really competitive process. And you're just like, hey, I'm raising my hand. All I want to do is help somebody. And it can be competitive. Here, it's such an open community. I don't know if it goes back to the spirit of the West, where we all had to work together or we all would have died, settling, this territory. We're going to go over do a barn raising over at Zed's, or, we're going to, whatever. I mean, maybe it's just part of our DNA in that fashion. But if you have a spirit of assistance, you want to help, this community will embrace you. So I tell people to go back to your passion. Where is it you'd like to make a difference? It may be animals, it may be kids, it may be law enforcement or first responders, whatever it is. I would say you can call the chamber, call the Aurora Chamber, and just introduce yourself and just tell them you'd like to make a difference. And there's so many people that they can just kind of share your information with and make introductions for you. I really believe that this is a very embracing community, and that they won't let you down if you want to make a difference.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's amazing, and it's a great point of just reaching out to the chamber and kind of being able to speak to someone there and hearing about what are some ways, what are some things that they are interested in, and then the chamber is a wonderful resource to be able to connect with so many different organizations across the community. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
They can call me too. They can call or email me as well.
Perfect. Well, just as we were kind of drawing the conversation a little bit to a close, it's so wonderful to get a chance to just connect with you and just hear some of your remarkable insights and the great work that you're doing with RTL. If you could have just a day where you can just take off, you can treat yourself to really anything, how would you kind of be fulfilled in kind of doing, whether it be a meal, if it's an activity? What would you most enjoy?
I don't know, man. You got any chocolate on you?
I don't have any on me right now, but
I'm a chocoholic. So, that's one of my big things, is trying to have enough to keep me happy, but avoid it enough that it doesn't become a problem. And then other than that, just any opportunity to spend on the beach and just relax and unwind. It's really important as leaders to have some time for yourself to unwind and decompress, because it's a lot sometimes carrying.
Absolutely.
A lot of things. And so I really encourage that. And one of the, but I also enjoy it. One of the things, we'll have to talk about later at another time. I'm just starting my foundation and the RTL Foundation. And there are a couple of things that I want to do as a part of that. So
that's exciting.
So, more to come.
Certainly. Yeah. Would love to hear more about that. That sounds wonderful, and so great to see you so passionate about this local community and being able to give back and inspiring just the next generations to up and, help steward that leadership into their generations as well. So that's just so incredible. And it's such an honor to be here with you today. And I do want to thank you again for your incredible service to our country as well. Is there anything that you would like to just close out with, or anything else that you would like to add before we close out today?
Just to say again, once again, I said at the beginning, I say it again, the honor is mine, Jordan. I appreciate the work you're doing. You're gathering these stories, and that's making a difference. And I would just leave it with the same thing that I say to my teams is, if you're out there on your grinds and hustling, and hopefully you're doing well, but if all we're doing is doing well as a company, making money, doing well as an organization, making money, then we may be missing an opportunity to make a difference. So I'll just leave with that.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Lewis, thank you so much. It's certainly been an honor, and I want to thank everyone for just tuning in and participating in this episode of Impact Aurora. This is such an important effort, and something that we're so excited about to continue carrying forward. And just as Mr. Lewis has outlined for us all today is just identifying that passion that each and every one of us can connect with in our communities, and have that moment of reflection where we can all identify how we can give back to the community, and also just being able to care for others, and making sure that we're stewarding that leadership, not only for ourselves and our current generation, but the future generations to come as well. So, Mr. Lewis, thank you so much again for participating with us today. And we hope everyone stays safe and stays healthy and just has a great rest of your week. So thank you, everyone.